You're pulling the military away from facing foreign enemies who literally say things like death to America. Let the military get back to its real job. Stop forcing them to do DHSs. And if you want to be the DHS secretary, maybe you can apply for that job when you're fired from this one due to your incompetence.
That was Illinois Democratic Senator Tammy Duckworth at a hearing with Defense Secretary Pete Hegseth today as the U.S. weighs how to respond to the conflict between Iran and Israel. And joining us now is Senator Duckworth. She sits on the Senate Armed Services and Foreign Relations Committees and, of course, is a veteran and Purple Heart recipient. Senator, thank you very much for being with us today. And I do want to start there because we, of course, do have American troops in the region, in the Middle East. And of course, we have been reporting here at CNN about moves that the administration, that our military is making to give the president options in the region that includes, deploying additional American assets. How concerned are you right now about the safety of American troops who are deployed in the region?
Well, I am deeply concerned about our troops overseas. This Secretary of Defense claims that he is all about lethality and then war fighting, and yet he spends all of his time researching ways to rename U.S. bases for Confederate generals. He spends all his time sending troops onto America's streets. I mean, he sent 700 Marines who should be practicing for the expeditionary role overseas. He sent them to the streets of Los Angeles. And so, my concern is that we don't have the troops on the ground who are able to even protect American diplomats in places like Baghdad, where we just had to recently evacuate a bunch of American diplomats. We're looking at perhaps evacuating American diplomats from our embassy in Israel as well. And you've got a Secretary of Defense who is busy worried about supporting Donald Trump's political regime here in the U.S. when he should be focused on making sure our troops have the training and the equipment that they need to do their jobs, but also that they're focused on doing the job, which is defending America abroad.
So speaking of doing the job, what do you think President Trump should do? Should the United States be involved in attempting to end Iran's nuclear program with military force?
Well, he doesn't have the authority to do that. The War Powers Act is clear of what he needs to do. He needs to come to Congress if he wants to initiate a war against another nation. Now, that said, I think that Iran needs to be stopped from developing a nuclear weapon. But remember that Donald Trump is the guy who put us out of the Iran nuclear deal. At the same time, I also think that Israel has the right to defend herself. What we should be doing as the United States is trying to broker an agreement to lower the tensions that are over there right now, but at the same time work with the international community to help bring Iran's nuclear program under control and to stop them from being able to further develop it. And I'm concerned that by getting involved in this, all we're going to do is encourage Russia and the PRC and these other countries and North Korea to help Iran achieve their nuclear goals even faster than they would have had they been on their own.
Senator, do you think that what Israel did here in starting this military conflict, in taking on the program in this way, has that been productive in terms of setting back Iran's goals?
Well, I can't tell you what Israel's plans were, what they were trying to achieve. I don't trust Benjamin Netanyahu. I think he's a war criminal. That said, I don't think that Iran developing a nuclear program is in anybody's best interest other than Iran and perhaps our adversaries around the world. But I think that the first thing that we should be doing as the United States is not to immediately involve American troops in that effort.
If the president were to go ahead and strike Iran with American force without coming to the United States Congress first, what would you encourage your Senate Democratic leadership to do about it?
Well, he has to come to us. We can censure him. We can do a number of things. But unfortunately, we will be stopped by the Republican majority in the Senate. I would hope that some of my Republican colleagues, especially those on what has been a bipartisan committee, the Armed Services Committee, will step forward and also work to restore our role as a co-equal branch of government. But at this point, I don't have a lot of faith in my Republican colleagues, unfortunately.
How high is the risk if, in fact, the president were to, again, go ahead with this without coming to Congress first, that any potential conflict could draw American boots onto the ground in the Middle East? How high of a risk do you think there is for that?
Well, I think it's a very high risk because this president will send those troops to the Middle East without the consent of Congress. He's already said that he's willing to do whatever he wants. And we heard today that Pete Hegseth, his Secretary of Defense, has said that he'll do whatever the president tells him to do and that he doesn't actually view the courts, the judiciary, as having any standing over what he does as Secretary of Defense. And so we're in a situation where we basically have a rogue presidency that's being enabled by his co-collaborators, my Republican colleagues in the Senate.
All right, Senator Tammy Duckworth, I'm very grateful for your time today, madam. Thank you very much for being on the show.
Thank you.